For those of you that don't know me, I am Carlos Sellés. I'm a Puerto Rican chiropractor. I am a July 1994 Life University graduate. I graduated in the summer of July 94. As I was sharing with Kyle and Trevor, my time in chiropractic school was the time of my life. I really cherish every day. I wish I could go back. When I go back to visit school, I feel like I am there a student again. So I invite you to enjoy every moment of it. I was telling Trevor and Kyle that if I could go back to school again, um, I would stress less and enjoy more. I know that all the stressing that I did over the studying, the academics, did not help my academics, but took away from my academics. The stressing, just a mental game. And had I known that then, I would have relaxed more, enjoy less, and participate even more of extracurricular activities like chiropractic seminars and chiropractic events. I shared that with you, and I hope that that can make a difference in what's left of your school and your professional life. My, as many other chiropractors, when I came out of school, I started um, utilizing the techniques that I was taught at school. But what was curious to me was that while I was at school, I was lucky enough to be exposed to network chiropractic. Was today known as NSA, was the network chiropractic. It was in its beginnings. This was, we're talking 1991, 1992. And one of the things that interested me the most about this network seminars at the time was how Donnie made the statement that at school we're taught how to evaluate and identify an unhealthy spine and an unhealthy nervous system. But if we found ourselves a healthy spine and a healthy nervous system in front of us and it slapped us in the face, we we wouldn't know. We just didn't know to identify a healthy nervous system. And I think that was the greatest takeaway I had from network chiropractic at the time. And Donnie brought in concepts that I had not been exposed to in school, like heel tension, adduction, abduction, breathing patterns, um, uh, for lack of a better word, hit patterns along the spinal column, um, group paraspinal muscle tension, edema, many things that not necessarily I was exposed to at school with all the academics and all the neurodiagnosis and orthopedic diagnosis and so on and so forth. So I become a network patient. That was my technique of choice at the time, and I actually paid a network doctor to take care of me, full fee, at the time in Atlanta because I wanted to be seen by a real doctor and for it to be a network chiropractor. And I experienced not only dramatic changes in my health, well being, and general life. And by seeing this practice, I saw many of the positive changes that network taught us that we should look for in patients. Now, I leave school for different reasons that I told before in club, but we don't have time to go over that today. I ended up not practicing network chiropractic, but I ended up practicing just the chiropractic that is taught at school. You know, the SOT, the Thompson, upper cervical activator. But I felt into the trap that I believe that many chiropractors fall into, and it is that instead of sticking to one technique and applying that technique to not to in excellence, because there's not such a thing as perfection in excellence, I fell into the trap early on to mixing technique. If this patient was not improving with this technique, then I'll try the other. and maybe I'll do knee chest with this guy today, but then I'll get him off the knee chest and I'll do a L3 pull on him right after the knee chest adjustment and before we rested, just because it felt right that that was the thing to do. And as you can, this might sound familiar, I was developing my own technique. You've heard it. You've heard many practicing chiropractors when you ask them, so what technique do you do? And 95% of the doctors will tell you, oh, at this point in the game, I do my own technique. In my experience, and I'm speaking by myself, that did not work for me. Because what was going on was that as I was applying that mix up of techniques, I noticed that the healthy nervous system changes or signals that Donnie had taught us in our chiropractic were not only not improving, but were worsening. We're getting worse. By that I mean that I'm in a crouching position, about to do a C2 move. I look at the patient's chest. The patient is breathing deeply and relaxed. I adjust the patient, and when I release the head of the patient on the table, I notice that the patient now is not breathing deep but shallow. I turn the patient the face down, and now I'm going to do without any differential diagnosis. And those of you that are in Torque Release Club and have been to Torque Release Seminar know what differential diagnosis means to us in Torque Release, which is not medical differential diagnosis, but chiropractic differential diagnosis. So without any differential diagnosis, just because it felt good in my heart that I needed to adjust T10, I went on to adjust T10. And it was a beautiful move, and it felt great to me. But when I looked down to the patient's legs, I was causing severe adduction of the legs. I would do an L3 pull, and after doing the pull, I lay the patient face down, prone, and I go to the feet, and now I notice that the heel tension is horribly off. Like there's one foot that is almost limp, and the other one is super tough. To understand that, you need to go to club. If you haven't been to club, and that was absolutely incongruent. So we were happy in practice, we were successful in practice. Patients were improving symptomatically. Don't get me wrong. At that point of my career, patients were improving symptomatically left and right, and that is musculoskeletal symptomatic. But we were not seeing any of the changes that chiropractic, as it was taught to me by my mentors, was famous for. Nobody was telling me that they were sleeping better. Nobody was telling me that their digestion was better. Certainly no asthmatics were getting better. And certainly no people with deafness or loss of sight were recovering their sight like I had learned in school, or like I had been told in school. So that goes on for a number of years. We became, and we are, one of the busier chiropractic practices in Puerto Rico. And I literally lost my license. I lost my license because it expired. My license expired without me knowing. All of a sudden, I was curious about the status of my license. I look up to the wall, and when I see the date, I was in panic because it had expired for a few months. So I literally had to run that weekend, not run, fly that weekend to the first chiropractic seminar with CE credits that I could take on a non-stop flight. That was the goal. So at the time, it was called QuiroHub. I go into QuiroHub, I locate the calendar. I see there's a Torque Release seminar in Dallas, Texas. I don't even check out what Torque Release was. I just knew that it was 12 CE credits approved by Parker or something like that. I get on the plane, I go there, and I'm literally sitting in the back of the room, killing time just to get my CE hours and run back home. And I was just reading a sailing magazine. That's my thing, sailing. I was reading a sailing magazine all weekend. At the end, on Saturday afternoon, Dr. Holder starts talking about heel tension, adduction, breathing patterns, and that sort of caught my ear. For the first time, I was interested in what was being taught. And that's what created enough interest in me for torque release and that seminar to stick with me. I go home Monday morning. The first patient that walks into the office is a patient that is in so much pain that he's being carried by his two brothers on their shoulders, and he's almost or dragging his feet on the ground, being held with his brothers. When I asked the brothers to let him stand up by himself, this guy was in so bad shape that he was not antagically laterally, he was antagically leaning forward. There's once you're in practice, you're gonna have a lot of people that are antalgic laterally, but there's very few people that you're gonna see that are antalgic anteriorly, and nobody. And in 25 years of practice, I've never seen a guy with such a gigantic, such a significant antalgia as this guy did. At the time, I had high-low tables, which I loved at the time. But I'm just gonna repeat what Dr. Holder says. They take too much time to go up and down. If you're really busy, if you plan to be really busy in practice, high-low tables are a drag. You might want to have one in case there's a really symptomatic case. Actually, to tell you how things are, we run 2 clinics in the metro area. One of our clinics does not have a high-low table. The other clinic has a high-low activator table. It never gets used, and when it gets used, it's for severely obese people. It's very rare that we need to use it with a severely symptomatic patient. You know, it doesn't matter how symptomatic you are, you can always work your way and lay on a table. If you're able to get out of your bed, get in your car, and come to my office, you're able to lay down by yourself on that table. And we learn in torque release technique that for the evaluation, it's necessary for the patient to lay down by himself. That's a seminar matter. So I have my high-low table is in the up position. Tony is his name. Tony is antalgic forward. I bring him to the high-low table, and I lower the high-low table. When I lower the high-low table, I'm laughing, but I laugh with love for Tony and that situation. I think I'm laughing about myself. Tony was not able to relax enough to lay flat on the table. He remained on that antalgic forward position, even while horizontal. So I'm looking at this patient, and I say to myself, what the hell am I going to do? I can't block him. His pelvis is not even on the table. I can't even touch this guy. It doesn't matter where I touch him. He's in pain. I cannot do a cervical test because he's holding the weight of his body with his face jammed on the table, so he can hold the antalgic position. I cannot do a proper leg check because both ankles are locked on the table because he can't flex his knees. So what am I going to do? I ran to the back of the office. I picked up my notes from the torque release seminar that I took that weekend, and I looked for the cheat sheet. And I started doing the checks just by pressure test. If you haven't gone to club, you need to go to club to learn what the pressure test is. I started doing pressure tests on him, and I was able at least to get. I was not able to bend his knees to get a proper positive Deerfield test or a Deerfield test, but I was able to check for leg length. and I found that there was an atlas lateral superior torque on the right. I grabbed my activator. I didn't have an integrator at the time because I didn't pay attention to seminars, so I didn't buy an instrument, and I just clicked the activator on his right lateral atlas. No torque. Tony took a huge deep breath in, and when he exhaled, he just relaxed completely on the table. Not only he relaxed completely on the table, but he took another deep breath on the table, and when he exhaled, there was a beautiful network wave, spinal wave on his spine. We know it's not a network spinal wave; it's a breathing wave, but that's what I knew of at the time. And when I go to palpate his ankles, there was the same tension on both sides of his heel tension. The adduction was balanced on both sides. And when I bring Tony up front with a high low, Tony walked out of the office by himself that day with no forward antalgia. Crazy story. We haven't seen anything like that before or after. Okay, in terms of level of acuteness of symptoms and change in practice. But of course, it immediately changed my entire perspective of the level of chiropractic care that I was providing. In the next week, I just focused on the notes from seminar and on applying the changes. I start seeing positive changes one right after the other. Our office is a high PVA, high retention practice. So most of my patients have been with me for years, which means most of my patients don't report changes. They just get adjusted. They come in, they get adjusted, they go home, and they don't tell me anything about what's going on with their body because they've just been in maintenance for years. To my surprise, most, if not all, of my established patients began to report changes that they've never reported before after I started adjusting them with torque relief. Doc, I don't know what you did to me the last time, but I feel a lot better. Doc, I don't know what you did to me the last time, but I left this office and I could not go back to work because I was so sleepy, I could not even drive. I had to go home and lay down and sleep until the next day. One right after the other. One of the, I have a few stories that I always tell about my experience with torque release. One of them is I call him the L3 patient. One of the things that you're going to learn in club and hopefully in seminar, it's the fact that we create patterns. You are in school, you are already, most of you are already adjusting legally or illegally. I know you guys. And you already know that we think people have patterns. We think our roommate always has a right C2 out on the right. We always think that my cousin, when I go home to adjust her, she's always a right PI. I don't even have to evaluate her. I just need to pop the right PI, and she's so happy when she gets out of that table after I adjust the right PI. And you've heard actually instructors say, your migraine patients always C2. You just adjust C2 on the migraine. You've heard that before. So I had my L3 patient. My L3 patient was a man in his 60s, early 60s, man in relatively good shape. He was, at some point in his life, he was an athlete, and he stayed very active in his 60s. And this patient came into our office for many years, often antalgic, and I figured out that if I adjusted L3, I did an L3 pull spinous right on this patient, his antalgia will go away. It got to the point that I didn't even examine him. I'll just lay him sideways on the table, crank on L3, and he will get up from the table without antalgia, happy, and he'll go home. He did, at some point in time, he did sort of a show because he would he would walk into the office and Tajik, limping, out of courtesy, will let him go into a room to rest first, then we'll take care of everybody else, and then we'll take care of him on his turn. And I'll adjust him, and he walk out of the room pain free, and everybody in the room will be impressed. It was like a sideshow at the circus, this guy walking in pain and walks out without pain, magic. Well, he stops coming for years, 3, 5 years. When you've been 25 years in practice, that happens. People stop coming in for 5 years and then they come back. Um, and his wife calls him, and his wife tells me that his husband is in such bad shape that to defecate, he needs to go in the shower and defecate standing up. He cannot sit on the toilet. He cannot do it any other way. But imagine defecating standing up. And then I'm not gonna tell you what he had to do after that with what he needed to dispose. Um, but he wasn't comfortable coming back to our office because the number of years that he had been out of the office. And I asked her, so he's not getting adjusted? And she tells me, yes, he's been getting adjusted with this guy, but he will only trust you because he knows that you can take care of this thing. How many adjustments? One adjustment. So he comes in, and when I evaluate him with torque release, it is it was not an L3. I don't remember what it was. It was something else cervically that was going on. And after that point, not only did he improve symptomatically significantly, but he remained a patient for years in our practice after that. And the L3 never showed up again. He returned symptomatically and he returned antalgic, but the L3 they never show up, which for those of you that are involved in torque release know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a secondary subluxation. The L3 was a secondary subluxation, most likely causing the symptomatology, but not necessarily being the primary subluxation causing the problem. And I can go on and telling you stories after story after story about our experiences with torque release. But a little message came up. I think you poor students have a free Zoom account. Is that what's going on here? I can't hear you, Trevor.
Can you hear me now?
You have a free account?
Yeah, I got it taken care of. No worries.
Oh, we have time?
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, good deal. Well, you guys need to. Trevor is so good with the money. Trevor, this is your assignment. You need to get money to have a paid Zoom account. I feel sorry for all of you guys. Now he's not gonna rest until he has money for the professional Zoom account. To be funny. So jumping, since we have time, I'm just gonna jump forward. Today we run multiple clinics in the metro area, and we do primarily torque release. Actually, one of our clinics is an exclusive torque release office. That's all we do. We evaluate torque release, we adjust with integrator, is the only service we provide. The other office, we analyze with torque release, and the doctor chooses to adjust structurally, and that's fine with us. As long as as a doctor owner, as long as he's analyzing my patient and adjusting only primaries through the torque release protocol, I don't have any challenges that he adjusts structurally. If that's his choice, that is fine with me. When we hire doctors for a program, they come train in our training center, and during their training in the training center is strictly torque release. They get trained on torque release, they get sent to seminar to torque release, and when they start seeing their first patients, it's all torque release. One of the reasons is I do it. It's not for them to learn torque release, and it's not for them to adjust with an instrument. one of the main reasons is that when you adjust manually, there's a lot of you in that. There's a lot of ego in adjusting structurally. So when the patients start getting better on their you hands, when you adjust structurally, you foolishly begin to think it's you who's doing it. So, but when you adjust by instrument, you realize it's not you. You know it's the protocol that you're realizing. You realize that it's the innate intelligence in the body of that patient doing its work when the subluxation is corrected. And it gives you a sensation of not only humbleness, but a sensation of trust in chiropractic and understanding. I heard the word believe. A sensation of trust and understanding on chiropractic that adjusting structurally does not provide because ego gets in the way. So we train them that way. We want them to start seeing the beauty of chiropractic develop in front of them through the adjustment of an instrument. And then when they see that and they get an understanding and appreciation for chiropractic, then I'm okay if when they go to their practice, they adjust structurally because I know they know what chiropractic is all about and that it has nothing to do with them. It's all about chiropractic, innate intelligence, and the chiropractic adjustment. That's what we do today. I've had the honor of helping. I don't teach because I don't teach torque release. I helped Dr. Holder in some of his seminars. This year, I was gonna do a introduction to torque release in Argentina. This is the Quiropractic Eficaz is the largest chiropractic seminar in Spanish. It's held once a year in Córdoba, Argentina. Last year, there were more than 300 chiropractors there. It was just beautiful. And in 2020, I was going to present torque release, but you know where we are, right? Let's say that I never made it to Argentina due to the pandemic. The seminar was never held. It's going to be held in 2021, hopefully May again, and God willing, we'll be in a better situation than we are right now by this time next year, and we'll be able to be there and share our knowledge with our Argentinian colleagues. I'd like to open the floor for questions. I love them. I have the time of the world. If you guys have any questions, any testimonies you'd like to give, we're here for that.
If anyone has any questions, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and then just ask the question.
Who's that next to you, Trevor?
This is our little baby.
Ah. What, is it a boy?
Yeah, little boy.
Well, what's his name?
Isaac.
Isaac. God bless you, Isaac.
Matt, do you have a question?
Now I can say that I have an audience from how young? How young is Isaac?
He's 4 months.
4 months. So now I can say I have an audience between 4 months and 90 years of age. Isaac, thank you. You just broadened my audience.
I have a quick question.
Matthew.
Yes.
Hello, Matthew. Where are you? Where do you hail from? Like they say in voting.
I hail from Atlanta, Georgia.
All right. So you're a lifer.
Yes, sir.
Good for you.
So I had a quick question. So I know that TRT is a bit of an unusual technique because most people, when they first experience chiropractic, they think of like the manual adjusting rather than like the instrumental and tonal. What is some parts of education that you provide your patient, like when they first are starting under care, on how it's different and what they should expect versus what they are receiving?
Fantastic, powerful question. I think there are two main parts to that. Number one, up until the beginning of the pandemic, we did group report of findings. We'll go back to them soon. We just figure out the logistics of social distancing. And to put things in perspective, in Puerto Rico, the Puerto Rico government has taken this social distancing very seriously. You know, when we see the news of the United States and we talk to our friends and family that are in the United States, in the United States, it's been taken very lax. In Puerto Rico, it's very strict. Okay, usually we're not like that. You know, Puerto Ricans, we're not strict, but this time we've been. So we want to cover all the bases, and we need to decide, work out how we're going to do a group report of findings respecting social distancing. But going back to your question, during the group report of finding, we pre-frame the instrument adjusting. And the thing we do is that we say something, and I say this very respectfully for those that do manual adjustment. Remember that this is something that we do inside of practice. I would never say this outside of my practice on a public forum. I only say this inside of my practice during a report of findings settings to pre-frame my patients for care so that I can receive better care. Okay, I made that clear. And we tell them that when we get to the part of the report of finding, when we start talking about the chiropractic adjustment, and we tell them that chiropractic adjustments are traditionally done by hand. We call that the traditional adjustment or the structural adjustment. Today, when you go to school, you are still taught the structural adjustment because the student needs to learn and familiarize himself with the structural adjustment and the basic techniques before they can, in postgraduate studies, learn more modern and advanced techniques. So which one do you think is the more modern and advanced technique that we're going to show now? Torque release. And we don't go into telling them what torque release. They could care less the name of the technique. We just tell them that it's an instrument-based adjustment. We don't call them instruments. We call them precision instruments. That's another big word, precision. We tell them that we have an integrator in the report of findings room. We grab the integrator. We have a spine. We demonstrate the subluxation, and we said now with the instrument adjusting, we can go with much more precision than with the big hand. We can go in and be more precise, and due to the speed and precision of the instrument, we can do faster, deeper, and longer lasting changes than with the structural adjustment. Do you like that? Do you have thumbs up there? Show me a thumbs up because I'm so excited about my explanation.
That sounds great.
Thank you. So that takes care of that part. Then they start care, and what happens? They just feel that I'm doing this little thing and that little thing on them, and I know because out of experience that before visit 5 or 6, they're gonna ask me about what the hell am I doing blowing on their, because you're so light they don't know if they're touching them and blowing on their skin. So they ask you, so you need to answer that question before it's asked. So we have what we call a visit-to-visit education. And in our visit-to-visit education protocol, there's one visit where I explain that before the patient asks. And I tell him that, we explain to them that what we're doing with those light touches, it's a neurological test. And I actually give them the example of the neurological. Everybody knows the neurological test when they shine a light on your pupil, on your eye. Everybody knows it's supposed to constrict, and everybody knows the doctor is not touching you when he's doing it. He's doing it afar with a little light. Also, everybody knows about the patellar reflex. I also go into detail about a patellar reflex and explain to them that just that little touch creates a huge change in the muscle of the leg, creating the patellar reflex. So with these little touches, I'm looking for neurological reflexes that are in your spine. Big medical words to help them understand. I'm sorry I said the word medical, but they're just done to educate the patient, to get the point across. And then Few visits later, we go into the instrument explaining before they ask me the question, my wife is going to a chiropractor and she gets her neck cracked all the time and she loves it. That question is going to come, you know it, it's going to come by visit 8, so you need to answer it in visit 6. And in visit 6, I again go over why we use an precision instrument. Remember the words, precision instrument. And then I go into the difference between the hand being slow and clumsy and the instrument being fast and precise. And the instrument adjusts just as well at 6 in the morning that at 9 p.m. But I cannot, for the love of my family, adjust the same at 6 p.m. that I do at 6 in the morning. Anybody that says that is fooling themselves, because we are human beings and we just get tired. That's a fact of life. It doesn't matter what level of shape you're on. I hope that cleared your question, Matthew. Did that do it?
Yeah, I did. I definitely loved using phrases like precision instrument and talking about how it's like an advanced technique and stuff like that. I think those are some really
check this out. Advanced, precision, postgraduate studies, big words, postgraduate studies, and it's true. They didn't teach me torque release at school. I had to graduate, and after I graduated, I learned torque release. That's called postgraduate studies. And what's the other that I like? Oh, faster, deeper, and longer lasting. I learned that. Actually, here it goes. I'm going to do free promotion for my mentor, for Roberto Monaco. If you don't know Roberto Monaco, you need to know Roberto Monaco. He's an instructor on public speaking. He's a master of communication and conversion. He's the man. If you want to learn anything about public speaking, make an investment in yourself and your future and go to one of Roberto Monaco's seminar. Please do tell them that I sent you. Roberto, one of the things that I learned from Roberto is called the law of threes. Every time you say something rhythmically in threes, in group of threes, you sound smarter. That's why you say faster, deeper, and longer lasting. It's one of the reasons. So I use lots of threes as much as I can in my communication and my public speaking. Good deal. Kyle, Trenon, Big Mari. Big Mari is the best looking of all of you guys. I only see black screens here, and Big Mari looks great with her braided hair, her hat, and the vegetation behind her. Amazing. Any other question? No, you don't cut it. And that sign with life is a bicycle. You Trevor, just bring Isaac back on the screen. That's your. Now we're talking. Now you're beating Big Mari with a long shot. God bless him, and God bless you and your family, Trevor. Okay.
I have a question, Dr. Sellés.
Yes, Kyle, thank you.
So how did that transition work with your patients from you adjusting, from a musculoskeletal standpoint to switching to TRT? So what did that transition look like in a practice?
When I did it, had you asked me 2 weeks after I did it, I would have told you it was like nothing. But the more years go by and I can look back and see what we did, it was a little bit painful. I'm not gonna say it was not. Number one, it's very hard to do torque release on a regular high bench and not blow you back out in 2 weeks. Very hard. So we needed to, as soon as possible. I guess it takes usually 4 to 6 weeks to one of those light tables to be delivered. So I guess that I killed myself for 4 to 6 weeks adjusting on the regular bench before I got my activator tables. Thank God. That's one. Two, um, I am, I'm not unique. There's a lot of people like me, but I'm very impulsive. You know, once I set my mind onto something, I can't step back. And once I set myself into switching from structural adjusting to instrument adjusting to torque release, I um, I felt that I was robbing or stealing from my patients if I provided anything else. So yes, many patients, you know, requested that I went back to adjusting manually. I could not. And I could not out of being stubborn and not wanting to adjust structurally. I could not because I was doing less for them that I knew to do now. And yes, I lost some of those, but the clinical satisfaction that I was getting from the other end of people day in and day out just reporting fantastic changes that they've never experienced in my office, that they've never experienced in other chiropractors' office, was more than reassuring that I was on doing the right thing. And we certainly through the years have gained more referrals through instrument adjusting than from structural adjusting. Because remember, of course, you want people to refer you for your clinical skills and your clinical outcomes. But I'm sorry to tell you, that's not how patients refer. They just refer because they like you, because you take care of people on time, and sometimes because of good results. But they do refer friends that are afraid of going to the chiropractor, because when they tell you should go to the chiropractor and their friend says, I'm frightened about chiropractors, I would never go to a chiropractor, they're going to crack my back and they can kill me. What are they going to say? My chiropractor doesn't adjust that way. My chiropractor uses precision adjusting instruments. So through the years, we got hundreds of referrals due to the fact that we use an instrument adjustment, as well as the excellent clinical changes that we get on a consistent basis. Any other questions?
Yeah, this is Trent, and I actually have a question.
Trent, where are you from?
I am a student at Life West in California. I'm actually from Utah, though.
Fantastic. Life West. Woo!
Yeah.
Now I have a bigger audience. I have the 4 months old, and I'm going all the way to the west coast of the United States. Brandon, before I answer your question, it is of all of my interest to connect with Puerto Rican students. If you know any Puerto Rican students, I don't think there are many, but should there be any Puerto Rican students in Life West, please connect them with me. You there, Trenton?
Yeah, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but if I do, I'll let you know.
I would assume so. And Dr. Melissa Massa is an instructor at Life West. Is she still there?
Yeah, she is.
Please give him a hug and a kiss from me. She's a well appreciated colleague, great friend. Please say hello to her from me.
I will. I'm in one of her classes this quarter, so I'll let her know.
Fantastic. Great. She'll appreciate it.
Yeah.
Tell me, Trenton, how can I be of service?
So I really resonated with your story of your journey through chiropractic college, because I also became introduced to network chiropractic early in my education, and I really, really connected with it, really resonated with that. And so I also paid for network care from a chiropractor there in the Bay Area
for you. Congratulations.
For most of the time that I was in school. And I went to school originally to practice upper cervical because that's what I knew from before. But I really, really liked network. I really liked the tonal approach. And I didn't know anything about TRT until just, the last few months, because they don't teach it at school and there's nobody in the Bay Area who practices TRT. Yeah. So I didn't know anything about TRT, but I went to a seminar earlier this year And I liked it, you know, but I'm kind of conflicted at this point about whether I want to practice network or whether I want to practice TRT. I kind of like TRT because it's a little bit faster, and quite frankly, like I'd like to have a busier practice, just because I like the fast-paced energy.
Sure.
But I'm wondering if you, well, two questions really. Number one, why do you feel like you never circled back to network in practice? And then number two, do you have any advice for me in terms of deciding which would be the best technique for me to pursue?
I can answer the first one, and the answer to the second one is you're on your own.
Yeah.
But I'll answer the first one, which was a story that I fast forwarded at the beginning for time management reasons. Okay, but obviously I have to share it with you. Hold on, let me clear my throat. I'll be right back.
No problem.
Okay. This is what happened with network. Network, I don't need to tell you, network is transformational stuff.
Yeah.
It goes beyond chiropractic. I think, you know, the years will show us really what network is doing with you. My personal experience as a patient with network was transformational, way beyond symptomatic relief. I don't need to preach to the choir. You know exactly what I'm talking about. What happened to me was that when I started practice, I did started practicing network for the first 3 years. And the challenge was that no one improved. But I'm going to fast forward. It was not network. It was a poor practice management skills. I knew how to do network. I knew that network worked. That was the best level of care I could provide to my patients, but I didn't know how to manage the practice. So when I started going to practice management seminars years later, after I had stopped doing seminars, network, they taught me the concept of PVA. Are you familiar with PVA?
Yes, I am.
Patient visit average and retention.
Yeah.
When I calculated PVA for the first time, the PVA in my practice was 8, which meant that my average patient stayed 8 times with me. Which means some people stay for 10, 13 visits, and some people stay for 6 or 5.
Yeah.
A recent graduate recently learned network. The network version of 1994, which was very hard to learn, with a patient that only sticks around for 4 or 5 times, what level of care do you think I was providing? No wonder nobody was improving. It had nothing to do with network, and it had nothing to do with my ability to provide it. It was poor practice management skills, which I think is one of the primary reason for chiropractors to burn out in practice and not understand exactly what chiropractic is all about is poor practice management, which was never properly taught in school. And I believe it's not the school part to teach it to you. You should, as a professional that pretends to make a living out of it, you should seek that knowledge outside of school. That is the reason why when I discovered that, it was 10 years since I had not been to a network seminar. And you know, network, what happens if you've not done network for 10 years and you've not been to seminar for 10 years? You're no longer doing network. It's something, now it's something new and different. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is my opinion. I think network is not for everybody. You have to be very, very dedicated to the work. You need to continue going to seminars because it's something that, you know, Tony continuously is working at improving his work and his material. So that's one. And two, in all business model, we run multiple practices. So the one thing that torque release provides is that if Kyle came into my practice on Monday and he had never heard the word torque release, it takes me 3 days to have Kyle adjust as good as I do, and I've been doing it for 12 years.
Yeah.
So I can release Kyle, I can let Kyle go loose in my practice with my patients. I'm gonna have the peace of mind that he's providing the same level of clinical care that I provide. You see, you saw that law of threes, same level of clinical care. Remember, we spoke about the laws of threes before. I already do it naturally, but it's a learned skill. Now, I don't know. I'm gonna be elegant, and I'm gonna say I don't know if you can do that with network.
Yeah, I don't think you can either, honestly.
I don't know if you can teach network in 3 days and have the person do it in front of you. But then again, I want to be fair. I haven't been to a network seminar in 20 years.
Yeah.
20.
And so from a clinical perspective, then you feel like you're able to provide a level of care for your patients that is, so going back to your story, you said that once you practiced TRT, you could never go back because you didn't feel like you were providing your patients with the level of care that you could get with TRT.
Mm-hmm.
So can I understand then that you feel like TRT provides a level of care that is high enough for your personal standard that you don't feel like you're shortchanging them by not providing network?
I don't know how to answer that question. That's a great question, because when I said that I was going to shortchange them if I went back, I was not referring to network.
Right.
I was referring to mixing and matching different techniques, thinking that I was developing my own.
Right.
I think that's crazy. Like when I hear somebody telling me I do my own. Listen, that's disrespectful to every technique developer that was ever alive.
Yeah.
Because if these guys that are involved with Trevor and Kyle that are involved with Dr. Holder, they know that to develop a technique, you need to dedicate yourself to only developing the technique. Most likely, you're not going to be in active practice with a real successful practice and be able to do the research and the statistic analysis and the whole thing that it takes to do that. And our forefathers, Clay Thompson and Clarence Gunstead, and these are geniuses that developed their life, that they devoted their life to developing a pure line of work, not to mix and match crap. Pardon my French, So, if you are developing your own technique, do the work. Put in the hours, put in the research, put in the studying, and develop something good. We all need it. Chiropractic needs to continue developing. Going back to network, I just to be fair to both parts, Trent, I think network and torque release you cannot compare one to the other. You can compare torque release to all the other techniques that are taught at chiropractic school. Network is something else. I think you need a telescope to look at network and start seeing it and be able to focus on it. And again, this day, I'm only a network patient. I get adjusted only with my doctors with torque release, but one of the network masters, his name is Jose Salgado. We're lucky to have him in Puerto Rico. He's one of my best friends. He always comes to our seminars, and Jose adjusts everybody in my seminar. And then people love to. It's funny because I finish my seminars, everybody stays with him, getting adjusted, and we go with the rest of the group to the lobby of the hotel to hang out for a little while. And finally, when he gets done with everybody, they all walk out of the seminar hall down the hallway, and because they just got adjusted with network, they all look like they're walking on a cloud. It's beautiful for those of us that understand the work. So I still get adjusted with Dr. Salgado, and I still get the life transforming effects. But I think it's unfair for me to even comment after not being at a seminar for 25 years.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I appreciate your.
I love your question, man. You You blew my. There are questions. I've been on this for so long that it's very rare that I get questions that I haven't answered before, and that, my friend, is one of them. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your insight.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think that's all we have time for tonight.
Fantastic.
Thank you again, Dr. Sellés, for joining us. We really appreciate your insight and all the information that you've given us tonight. If anyone, Alejandro, Trenton, Kyle, if any of you guys have any other questions for Dr. Sellés, you can feel free to let me know, and I can get you in contact with him and continue to have those conversations.
Fantastic. Guys, thank you so much. I'm always at your service. Once things go back to the new normal, please have me back at school. You know, I love to go. And Trevor is going to be in contact with you guys to get the money for the paid subscription to Zoom. Be well, my friends. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.